Session 873. Since holding last Wednesday's 872nd session, Jane has given 2 more sessions. Both of them are private, however, and came through on Sunday and Monday evening. "I'll tell you one thing," she said as we set for tonight's session. "I don't have an ideal in my head. I'm just waiting. Come on, Seth." Nevertheless, we knew that Seth would soon finish mass events. He had been very neatly summing it up in recent sessions. Yesterday, with 2 good friends helping us move all of the furniture, Jane switched rooms. That is, the living room in the Hill house is now her writing room, and her one-time writing room at the back, north side of the house has become the living room, or call it the den and television room. The new arrangement seemed to be a very comfortable one. Jane has been restless lately and looking for a change. Our friends very accurately picked up on her need, likening the room changes to a mini vacation for her. Over 2 years ago, and in the opening notes for session 805, I described our decision to add the writing room to the house. All 4 of us involved in the moving were quite amused then, for the friends who helped Jane and me carry the furniture yesterday are the father and son contracting team that built the room in the first place. Whispering, "Good evening." Dictation in your cozy new den. In a manner of speaking, you must be a practicing idealist if you are to remain a true idealist for long. You must take small practical steps, often when you would prefer to take giant ones, but you must move in the direction of your ideals through action. Otherwise, you will feel disillusioned or powerless, or sure, again, that only drastic, highly unideal methods will ever bring about the achievement of a given ideal state or situation. Life at all levels of activity is propelled to seek ideals, whether of a biological or mental nature. That pursuit automatically gives life its zest and natural sense of excitement and drama. Developing your own abilities, whatever they may be, exploring and expanding your experience of selfhood, gives life a sense of purpose, meaning, and creative excitement, and also adds to the understanding and development of the society and the species. It is not enough to meditate or to imagine in your mind some desired goal being accomplished if you are afraid to act upon the very impulses to which your meditations and imaginings give rise. When you do not take any steps toward an ideal position, then your life does lack excitement. You become depressed. You might become an idealist in reverse, so that you find a certain excitement in contemplating the occurrence of natural disasters, such as earthquakes. You may begin to concentrate your action on such activities. You may contemplate the end of the world instead, but in either case you are propelled by a sense of personal frustration, and perhaps by some degree of vengeance, seeing in your mind the destruction of a world that fell so far beneath your idealized expectations. None of the unfortunate situations discussed in this book have any power over you, however, if you understand that events do not, now I'm on the other side of the page, do not exist by themselves. Events do not exist by themselves. All events and situations exist first within the mind. At the deepest levels of communication, no news is secret, whether or not you receive it by way of your technological gadgets. Your thoughts and beliefs and desires form the events that you view on television. If you want to change your world, you must first change your thoughts, expectations, and beliefs. If every reader of this book changed his or her attitudes, even though not one law was rewritten, tomorrow the world would have changed for the better. The new laws would follow. Any new law always follows the change in belief. It is not the other way around. Give us a moment. There is no civilization, no system of science, art, or philosophy that did not originate in the mind. When you give lip service to ideas with which you do not agree, you are betraying your own ideas, harming yourself to some extent, and society as well, insofar as you are denying yourself and society the benefit of your own understanding. Each person is an idealist. I simply want to help you practice your idealism in the acts of your daily life. Each person alive helps paint the living picture of civilization as it exists at any given time in your terms. Be your own best artist. Your thoughts, feelings, and expectations are like the living brushstrokes with which you paint your corner of life's landscape. If you do your best in your own life, then you are indeed helping to improve the quality of all life. Your thoughts are as real as snowflakes, or raindrops, or clouds. They mix and merge with the thoughts of others to form man's living scape, providing the vast mental elements from which physical events will be formed. As you learn to allow your impulses some freedom, you will discover their connection with your own idealized version of what life should be. You will begin to discover that those spontaneous urges are as basically good and life-giving as the physical elements of the earth that provide the impetus for all biological life. Beyond that, however, those impulses again connect you with the original impulse from which all life emerges. Give us a moment. You will discover the natural, cooperative nature of your impulses, and you will no longer believe that they exist as contradictory or disruptive influences. Your impulses are part of the great multi-action of being. At deeper levels, the impulsive portion of the personality is aware of all actions upon the earth's surface. You are involved in a cooperative venture in which your slightest impulse has a greater meaning and is intimately connected with all other actions. You have the power to change your life and the world for the better. But in doing so, you must, again, reevaluate what your ideals are and the methods that are worthy of them. Science and religion have each contributed much to man's development. They must also evaluate their ideas and methods, however. In larger terms, there are really only scientific and religious men and women, however, and the fields of science and religion would be meaningless without those individuals who believe in their positions. As those men and women enlarge their definitions of reality, the fields of science and religion must expand. You must be reckless in pursuit of the ideal, reckless enough to insist that each step you take along the way is worthy of that ideal. You will understand, if you are a practicing idealist, that you cannot kill in the name of peace, for if you do so, your methods will automatically undermine your ideal. The sacredness of life and spirit are one and the same. You cannot condemn the body without ultimately condemning the soul. You cannot condemn the soul without ultimately condemning the body. I would like each of my readers to be a practicing idealist, and if you are, then you will automatically be tolerant of the beliefs of others. You will not be unkind in the pursuit of your own ideas. You will look upon the world with a sane compassion, with some humor, and you will look for man's basic good intent. You will find it. It has always been there. You will discover your own basic good intent and see that it has always been behind all of your actions, even in those least fitted to the pursuit of your private ideals. The end does not justify the means. If you learn that lesson, then your good intent will allow you to act effectively and creatively in your private experience and in your relationships with others. Your changed beliefs will affect the mental atmosphere of your nation and of the world. Give us a moment. You must encounter the selves that you are now. Acknowledge your impulses. Explore their meanings. Rely upon yourselves. You will find far greater power, achievement, and virtue than you suppose. End of session. End of chapter. Get our friend some cigarettes. Rest your fingers. He has to record everything. Conclusion. You are individuals, yet each of you forms a part of the world's reality. Consciously, you are usually aware only of your own thoughts, but those thoughts merge with the thoughts of all others in the world. You understand what television is. At other levels, however, you carry a picture of the world's news, one that is picked up by signals transmitted by the cells, cells, that compose all living matter. When you have an impulse to act, it is your own impulse, yet it is also a part of the world's action. In those terms, there are inner neurological-like systems that provide constant communication through all of the world's parts. If you accept the fact that man is basically a good creature, then you allow free, natural motions of your own psychic nature, and that nature springs from your impulses and not in opposition to them. There is no event upon the face of the earth in which each of you has not played some part, however minute, because of the nature of your thoughts, beliefs, and expectations. There is no public act in which you are not in that same manner involved. You are intimately connected with all of the historical events of your time. To some extent, you participated in putting a man on the moon, whether or not you had any connection at all with the physical occurrence itself. Your thoughts put a man on the moon, as surely as any rocket did. You can become involved now in a new exploration, one in which man's civilizations and organizations change their course, reflecting his good intents and his ideas. You can do this by seeing to it that each step you personally take is ideally suited to the ends you hope to achieve. You will see to it that your methods are ideal. If you do this, your life will automatically be provided with excitement, natural zest, and creativity. And those characteristics will be reflected outward into the social, political, economic, and scientific worlds. This is a challenge more than worth the effort. It is a challenge that I hope each reader will accept. The Practical Idealist. Give us a moment. When all is said and done, there is no other kind. I bid each of you success in that endeavor. End of book. End of session. Thank you. I put the concluding statements separate since I thought they would be more effective that way. And I bid both of you, practicing idealist, a fond good evening. And on that gentle note, Seth brought mass events to a close. To the end, he stayed with his practice of giving book dictation on Wednesday evenings. Jane and I had expected him to finish his work soon, yet when the moment arrived, we still felt a certain surprise, a certain nostalgic letdown. Something we'd counted upon as part of our weekly routine wouldn't be there anymore. I'd always feel funny when he ends a book, Jane couldn't help saying. I can never believe it. At the same time, I want to race through it and see how it all came out. Okay, I said, teasing her, you'd better hurry up, though, 'cause he's already got his next one planned on dreams, evolution, and value fulfillment, remember? But I should be careful, I added. You and your boy might start in on it too soon, and then the joke would be on me. Somewhat ruefully, I considered all of the work I still had to do to prepare the manuscript for mass events for publication. Actually, both of us will continue to be as busy as ever. Jane plans to write an introduction for mass events next month as summer draws to a close. In the meantime, she's occupied with her own latest book, The God of Jane, a Psychic Manifesto, which she started last May under the Heroics title. She had written the first drafts for many of the chapters of the book by now and has planned most of the rest of them, although she may change any of her work at any time. Now she reminded me that a lot of God of Jane is written as my own response to stuff Seth gives in mass events. Jane's editor, Tarn Mossman, hasn't seen any of her new book yet, although he's well acquainted with it through a series of lengthy telephone exchanges. Jane thinks she may sign the contract for it later this year, before Christmas, that is, and her third Seven novel, Oversoul 7 and the Museum of Time, waits for her to return to work on it. While I am doing my own work on mass events, we'll hold the sessions for Seth's Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment, of course. My own long-range goal in working with the Seth books is one that I've found very difficult to achieve. I want to catch up on the backlog of work involved with the books so that I can devote most of my efforts to whatever the current Seth book is, while Seth is still producing it. This would certainly be a luxury for me. In my notes for mass events, I've shown how complicated affairs could get for Jane and me when I had to juggle several projects at once over long periods of time. And these final notes, we still don't know whether the Dutch edition of Seth Speaks has been published, but we do know that our good friend Sue Watkins is presently working on Chapter 15 of Conversations with Seth, the book she's written about Jane's ESP classes. Sue has a few chapters to go, plus some appendix material, and Tarn is due to receive her manuscript in January 1980. I also know that as I prepare these notes, our 7-month-old kittens, Billy 2 and Mitzi, are racing through the house. Through all of our personal activities, Jane and I are intensely conscious of the cultural, scientific, artistic, and economic aspects of the world we've chosen to live and work in. Each other individual is just as focused in his or her own unique reality also. Right now, we're very much aware of all of the good things the people of our world are providing for us and for millions of others, every minute of every day. Yet a certain portion of our joint interests in that outside world is also directed toward the situation at 3 Mile Island, the nuclear power generating plant located some 130 airline miles south of us. 4.5 months ago, one of the 2 nuclear reactors at TMI malfunctioned and came close to a meltdown of its uranium fuel. The whole world was a spectator at the worst accident in the history of our country's nuclear power program. The latest Jane and I gather from a variety of reports is that 3 Mile Island's damaged reactor is still a sealed enigma, just as it was when I described it in Note 1 for Session 856. A great amount of radiation is trapped within the reactor's containment building, so many months still must pass before it can even be entered, and several years will pass before scientists and engineers pronounce the site finally and safely decontaminated, at who knows what enormous expense. For each step in that cleanup process will have to be scrupulously managed for maximum safety. I left my thoughts for 3 Mile Island and began to consider a closing statement about Seth finishing mass events as summer passed its zenith and prepared to blend into fall. Then I had it, of course. The change of seasons meant that while I would be doing my own work on the book, the geese would be flying south. Already I look forward to their migration. That ancient movement I've become especially fond of since we moved into the Hill House over 4 years ago. Through the geese, I want to associate Jane and my activities with nature rather than technology. For in nature I sense a great, sublime, ultimate peacefulness and creativity that far surpasses technology. Can we but ever manage to approach an understanding of what nature really means for us physical creatures? To me, without getting into questions about the magnificent overall originality embodied in all that is, nature is a basic physical environment which all living species jointly create and manipulate within. And my personal, symbolic way of trying to grasp a bit of nature's ultimate mystery lies in my admiration for the twice-yearly flights of the geese, I can't think of a better way to bring mass events to an end. And with that, he ended it. That was the end of it. So, I have finished reading Mass Events. And I got a lot from it that I'll have to contemplate and think about when I meditate on things. Of course, when you meditate, you're supposed to listen. You're not supposed to be thinking. I think you're supposed to be listening. But I just phase in and out of meditating, listening, and then thinking, and then meditating, and then thinking. But this gives you something to think about. And I enjoyed this book. If you enjoyed it, you can find it easily. It's just look for esotericonline.net. Channeled material of Seth. It's free. I mean, there's several of Jane Roberts' books on this site. Let me see. I'll show you. See, there's Book 5, Early Sessions, an Anthology, Dream Evolution and Value Fulfillment. That's the one they talked about in there a lot. Education of Overself 7, Eternal Validity of the Soul, Individual and the Nature of Mass Events, which I just read. Magical Approach, I might think about reading that one. Seth Material, Nature of Personal Reality, I did read that one. It's in my playlists. Nature of the Psyche, Its Human Expression. Psychic Development Class. Seth Quotes and Exercises. Seth Way Toward Health. Seth Speaks, I did read that one too. It's in my playlist. Ooh, I want to read this one. Tactical Magic. Here's Seth, God of Confusion. Seth in the Magical Text. Tactical Magic by Seth. Thoughts on Seth. Oh, there's a lot of books. I bet she didn't write this one, Seth, God of Confusion. Let's check into what that is. Let me click on it. See what that is. See if it's by Jane Roberts. It isn't by Jane Roberts. And it's probably not, I don't know why it got on that list. It's probably someone who thinks the name and animal of Seth, the meaning of the name Seth, the earliest known representatives of the Seth animal, the disorders of Horus and Seth, Seth and the eye of Horus, the testicles of Seth, the separation of Horus and Seth. Ooh. The murder of Osiris by Seth, revealed and concealed in the symbolism of water, bull's legs, and something else. Ooh, I don't know if I would like to read this one at all. Nah, I don't think I would. Anyway, this is the Dove Lady, and I've finished Mass Events, and you can leave a comment if you would like. Maybe suggest the next Seth book that you would like to hear me read. This is the Dove Lady, over and out for now. Bye-bye.